I'm going to try and read this carefully because they're local and I don't want to put a name to it, so this is what it says. All right, I've just learned that my 18-year-old niece is in a homosexual relationship. I have a biblical perspective on homosexuality. However, I'm not sure how to balance showing her that I love her while having a firm stance in her lifestyle decision. I also want to add that I have younger children in my home that I need to protect from being influenced by this. I have no issue having my niece over to my home, but I do not want to allow the girlfriend to come over. I know this will come across as being intolerant, but I just wanted your perspective.
My perspective is you do what Jesus would do in the situation. You do what God says in situations like that. God is clear that the sin of homosexuality is an abomination. And so that's not, there's not even a question to this. And people try to play games with passages and words and things like that, but God's clearly taught that this is an abomination, and so I'm to treat it as an abomination. At the same time, there are a number of things, and I know that, when you say you have a biblical perspective on this, you realize that homosexuality is not the worst sin that can be committed, right? It's just another sin among many. It just happens to be one that just destroys people's lives in ways that other things don't. And so you can steal and not have the same scarring on your soul that you would have with a homosexual relationship or an adulterous relationship, or we could talk about other issues too. And so this is one of those things that got the death penalty, and so God's serious about this stuff, right? And so I need to be serious about it too. And so when I'm looking at these kinds of issues, and I've never had a situation with homosexuality in the life of somebody that was a family member as close as that, or somebody who would necessarily be coming over to my house. But I have had other situations where people were living in unbiblical relationships. They're shacking up with somebody and that kind of thing. And that doesn't happen in my home. My home is a place where Jesus is glorified, and so that's what's going to happen. Jesus is going to be glorified, and you as a sinner are welcome in. You're not welcome to bring your sin. And so you're not going to practice your sin in my presence. And so that's my attitude towards that. The woman caught in adultery wasn't having sex in front of Jesus. And so Jesus is clear on this stuff. He told her to go and sin no more. He did take care of the hypocrisy that was going on around her, but he told her to stop sinning, basically. And so when I look at that, I think your standard with your kids, obviously that's something that you need to be taken care of, and I think that's a biblical position. Jesus cares about little kids, and they're not to be stumbled, and so they've got enough going on without having it in their home. And so there's a lot of things that don't happen in my home because when my kids were there, and don't happen in my home because my wife is there, frankly. And so yeah, I think that's exactly right. The problem that the world has is that they think love or approval equals love, and it doesn't. There's all kinds of things that God does not approve of in our lives, and that doesn't change the fact that he loves us. And so my job as a Christian is to represent Christ. I need to be Christ-like. I need to be a godly man, somebody who is a good representation of who Jesus is. And so I'm not to give my approval to things that are flat out sin. Sin is to be rebuked. It's like the darkness that people get into is not to be, I'm not to be tied in with it. I'm to reprove it. There's a passage in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11. It says, "Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them." And that word expose can be translated reprove them. And so I'm not to have fellowship with those things. I'm to reprove them. And my life is supposed to be different. I'm supposed to not walk in darkness. I'm supposed to be walking in the light. In fact, that's a good passage you could go through and read. It's in Ephesians chapter 5. And so I totally agree with your situation where you're talking about your house. And again, I've had situations where somebody who's close to me, family members who have had unscriptural relationships, they're welcome to visit me. They're not welcome to do that in my home. And so if I've got friends that are coming over and they're shacking up, well, I'm not going to give them a bedroom.
Right.
It's like, and it'll be straightforward. Here, you're sleeping on the couch here, and young lady,
yeah.
you can sleep in the bed in there, and don't be doing anything, because that's not going to be a good thing. And if they have a hissy fit about it, I just go, I'm a Christian, I follow Jesus, and you will not do that here. And if that's not something that you're good with, you want to have a hissy fit about that, then you can go get a hotel, and I'll still love you, but you're not going to, it's not something that I approve of, and so no, not here. And so there's ways that you can make stands with people, and you can do it in a loving way. And if I was doing that with her, I'd start off with, who I am, right? I love Jesus, right? I love Jesus more than you. In fact, I love you more than anything except for Jesus. I used to say this to my kids. And if you try to make it a choice between you and Jesus, guess who's going to lose? And that's going to be you. And so you need to understand that I have to be faithful to him. And so, you get to make your choices in your life. You get to do what you want. I'm going to make my choices in my life. And what I'm going to do is glorify God. Okay? And so nothing that doesn't glorify God, nothing that is out of line with God is going to be happening in my home. So, got it?
Yep.
And hopefully they'll get it. And again, that conversation might take a little bit longer, 15 minutes or so. But that's the gist of what I'd be getting across to them. I don't have to do what the world does, and they don't get to tell me to. So
it's totally effective too in your witness, whether it's alcohol bringing into your home or whatever it is. It's nothing personal. It's just that I'm a believer.
Right. Yep. I follow Jesus. Don't make me choose between him and you, because you're going to lose every stinking time.